If you're thinking about using a series to grow your YouTube channel, then the series to learn from is not Ryan Trahan's I Visited 50 States in 50 Days. No, there's a better series to study. Don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying the series. I have a lot of respect for who Ryan Trahan is as a YouTuber and even more so as a person, but the data clearly show that the 50 States series is not generating growth. And there's an important lesson in that if growth is your goal. Each line of this graph is an episode of the 50 States series so far, with the bold light grey line being the first episode released on the 10th of June. There's a new line each day because he's releasing an episode per day. And like with most videos of established channels, each episode's total views grows rapidly soon after it's published, and then the curve starts to flatten as growth in total views slows down over time. That's a familiar shape. But look at how the initial steep climb in total views gets smaller and smaller with each new episode and starts flattening out at a lower and lower level. The point might be easier to see if we change the graph so that instead of starting each video on the calendar date when it was published, we start all the lines on day 0 of the episode being published and then see how many views each episode had by each day after it was published. The lines for the most recent videos end early because when I pulled this data, episode 24 had only been up for 2 days, whereas the first episode had been up for more than 3 weeks. So this graph allows us to see past the fact that earlier episodes have been up for longer and so should have more views, and compare episodes on a like-for-like basis. You can see that the audience is shrinking substantially with each new episode. Day 3 is a critical point to analyze. It will show you if your series is building anticipation and excitement and ultimately going to lead to channel growth, or if there's no inter-episode tension sucking you in to see what's going to happen next. So if we isolate each episode's views on day 3 after the episode went live, and we simplify it into a bar chart, this is the same data for day 3, just without all the noise of the full line chart, we can more easily see that the first episode had just over 4.5 million views by day 3 after publication. And the second episode had 3.75 million views. The third episode had 3.25 million views, and that downward trend largely continued all the way to the 23rd episode, which had just under 2 million views by the 3rd day after it was published. I call this a YouTube series excitement profile. If there's compelling tension in the story, cycles of conflict and resolution, and you're on the edge of your seat waiting to see if the hero is going to be successful, then you're not going to see an excitement profile that looks like this. And the proof is in the pudding. Ryan's subscribers haven't grown especially quickly so far in the 50 States series. Sure, it looks like there's a bit of a bump, but if you trace out the medium-term trend, it's really just slow growth in May and a return to trend in June. So the series has got his subscriber growth back on track, and maybe we'll see a bit of extra growth in the coming weeks, but it isn't producing some unusual amount of subscriber growth. The better series to learn from, if growth is what you're going for, is Ryan Trahan's Penny series, where he grew his channel from 7.5 million subscribers to 10 million subscribers in a single month. Compare the excitement profile from the 50 States series with the excitement profile for the Penny series. See the difference? Okay, I'll show you again. The 50 States series and now the Penny series. Do you see how the Penny series builds up excitement for the next episode all the way up to episode 10 or 11 and then holds the day 3 views line at about 5 million for each episode right until the big finale in episode 30? This is what you're looking for if you're wanting to use a series to grow your channel. Look at the full graph for each episode of the Penny series. There isn't a single point in time where the first episode isn't the most viewed video in the series. And that's right, it's the gateway through which viewers get hooked into wanting to find out if the hero wins. But for each subsequent episode, see how the start of the lines gets steeper and steeper, and by episode 10 or 11, the green lines, they're hitting 5 million views very quickly and then flattening out. The second piece of evidence that the Penny series is goated is that in the longer term, the finale got about 80% of the views that the first episode got. Comparing the longer term views of episodes is the series version of a YouTube video's retention curve. So it's a critical metric to understanding how well your series did. If we take each episode's views at day 30, just like we did for the excitement profile at day 3, we get this series retention profile. Sure enough, The finale is standing strong at 80% of the first episode's views, but the retention on all the intermediate episodes of the series is somewhere between 6 and 8 million views, so half the first episode's views. What this is telling us is that the Penny series had an audience retention of between 13 and 15 million, but that audience on average only watched 1 out of every 2 of the intermediate episodes. Sure, there would have been some people that watched every single episode, but then that would have been counterbalanced by people who watched every 3rd or every 4th episode. You could argue that this is a bad thing, because if you had made the series so that each episode only made sense if you had seen the previous one, yeah, maybe you could have compelled some of the viewers who watched every 2nd or 3rd episode to instead watch every single one, and so increase the views on those intermediate episodes. But if you do that, you massively increase the risk of losing viewers altogether if they miss a few episodes and never recover. It's a balancing act, and for my money, for a 30-episode series that comes out every single day, I think the Penny series struck the perfect balance. But if you're doing, say, a 6-episode series that comes out once a week, you might want to aim to retain more views on those intermediate videos. So what did the Penny series do that the 50 States series isn't doing? Both had daily uploads filled with Ryan's wholesome antics as he travelled great distances to raise money for a worthy cause. So why do the cakes taste different if they use the same recipe? Well, there's one ingredient which might look the same, but actually tastes quite different. And that's
the Wheel of Doom.
In the Penny series, Ryan started out with a single penny to travel from the west coast of the US all the way to almost the east coast and earn money along the way. But when anyone donated $50,000 to the charity, it would trigger the Great Reset and he would go down to a single penny again. In the 50 States series, instead of the Great Reset, they have the Wheel of Doom, which is spun when anyone donates $50,000 to the charity they're raising money for. The Wheel of Doom has various penalties which thwart Ryan and Haley as they try to stay one night in each of the 50 states in 50 days. However, the penalties are things like being delayed a few hours from continuing on the journey, or having to ask for directions rather than using GPS. Yes, they're fun quests, but not once has it seemed like any of these penalties could stop the heroes from being triumphant. The episodes are still fun to watch, but they are sort of all blurring into one at this stage because there aren't genuine and unique conflicts that are crying out for a resolution, creating tension in the storyline and retention in the analytics. It's basically a foregone conclusion that they will make it to all 50 states. You can dip into different episodes here and there. Maybe there's one particular state that you really want to watch, but ultimately you know what's going to happen and you don't even need to watch the episodes in any particular order. With the Penny series, yes, the hero was probably going to be triumphant, but it wasn't always a guarantee, and it also wasn't obvious how he would succeed. So if you want to use a series to grow your channel, the lesson here is that it's really important to create tension within the storyline, within each episode, but especially within the narrative arc that draws all the episodes together as a series. As soon as it starts to become predictable, even if you have all the other ingredients to make a compelling series, people will just stop watching.